Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Monday, April 11th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown, so if you are somebody that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used as a tool to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. Before I get to the watch list, I first want to personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online class that I'm offering next week. So if you're liking what you see in this video, you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used to build consistency as a trader, then certainly get signed up for the free class. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box. If you're watching at my site, there's an area right there on the webpage that you can click on. But again, if you like what you see, then certainly get signed up for the free class. A couple quick clarification points. First off, when you look over here, you'll notice this number is still moving around along with the candlestick itself. That's because the market's still open for a small amount of time, but I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price action, but the market is also close enough to being done for the day where everything I talk about will still be relevant on Monday. And then next, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame. So for beginners out there, what that means is that each one of these candlesticks here, as they're called, represents 30 minutes worth of time. So first stock here, ticker symbol PHIO, and all I can really say for this one is wow. I mean, essentially nothing going on in the morning, late morning, and then you can see the rest is history. Volume came pouring in, and what a move. And this is just one of those situations where the whole idea behind a watch list is finding unique situations, finding situations that catch your eye so that you can watch them and then see if you ultimately want to make any sort of trade plan based around them. And I state the obvious when I say, yeah, I'd consider this here quite a unique situation, which brings about the question of, is this the start of something way bigger? Now, to be fair, maybe it's not. Maybe this thing just fizzles, back down into oblivion. But that is a two-sided coin because, well, who knows? Maybe it actually is. So again, worth at least watching. And who knows? Is this going to be one of these stocks where, on Friday of next week, are we going to be saying, geez, remember when that one was down below $2 and, now it's up at $10? Who knows? But the point here being is this is definitely justified price movement to at least keep an eye on and watch for next week. Next one, MDVL. Did this one previously, but another huge monster day. So definitely updates need to be done. First thing I'm going to do is actually some house cleaning, just get rid of these lines. Sure, they still pertain. They're just not really relevant right now. And from a presentation standpoint, I don't want to risk causing confusion and, clutter because there's lines everywhere you look. So let's try to keep this as clear as possible. But what I like about most is, sure, it's got good, solid upwards momentum. But this trend line right here, whoops, let's change that. This trend line right here, I assure you, all sorts of people have drawn that trend line. I mean, look how absolutely beautiful that thing is. I mean, by using that point and that point, forecasted all these areas so beautifully. But this is not some sort of great skill that I have. I'm not trying to imply this is a great discovery. In fact, the exact opposite. I assure you, a bunch of people have drawn that trend line. And I say that because call it a self-fulfilling prophecy. Call it whatever you want. When lots of people are watching the same area and wondering the same thing, it can definitely produce some very dynamic movements. So while there are no guarantees, my point here is that it's more than plausible to think that if the price comes up to that trend line and then breaks up through it, that break in and of itself could very well create quite a bit of upwards buying pressure. So definitely keep a close eye on that trend line right there. As far as supports are concerned, so if you like to play pullbacks, then in my mind, the interesting level sits right down there around $1.75. But overall, the trend remains in the bullish direction. So let's see if the bulls can indeed get a trend line break early next week. Next one, ATER, and finally broke out of the sideways channel that I had mapped out previously. But again, for the house cleaning purposes and not wanting clutter, let's just clear those levels out of the way and map out some of the newest levels to keep an eye on. And once again, just like we had with MDVL and the self-fulfilling prophecy attribute, we have that once again right up here at $4.80. You can see that this morning is right where the price struggled with that area. Could never really, maintain and sustain any sort of momentum. But the good news is price is well within striking distance. So a bunch of people will be watching. So once more, no guarantees, but completely plausible to think that if the price gets up there and then pushes up through it, that break could create a whole nother, leg upwards of the overall trend that's going on. As far as supports are concerned, I like that trend line right there, which is also going to allow us to see the pattern here. But let me change that to green to represent support and keep this all the same color. So again, we have our resistance, we have our support, we have our momentum move right here. We'll put the golf hole down here to make it nice and visual. We have ourselves a nice bull pennant pattern. So if you like bull pennants, if you like stocks down below $10, here you go. Next one, MULN. Big movement today. So the big question mark moving into Monday is, okay, yeah, from where it was here to where it is right here, good solid move, but I mean, is there actually any sort of genuine power behind this price movement? And I have no idea, but by using charts, we can make answering that question very straightforward. And in my mind, it all revolves around that area right there at 235. Why is that level important? Well, because if this is a truly strong move, then it's not that the price has to go straight up, but the price is certainly going to need to make and show some signs of progress, which brings about the valid question, okay, how are you defining progress? Because that is just a word, and that's why I love charts, because they allow you to take words and phrases and make them very visual. So when I say progress, what I mean is 235, because think about it. If the price were to come down here and then just break down below, what would that be doing? That would be putting the price, quite literally, right back to where it was. And, not to insult your intelligence, but price movements that go back to where they were, not exactly a sign of genuine strength. But to be fair, maybe the price comes down here, bounces around, and then heads back up. Now, all of a sudden, what would you have? Well, you'd have a set of lows there. You'd have lows there. You envision those as stair-steps, and you still have progress being made in the upwards direction. So in my mind, is this a truly strong move? Well, let's see if it can make progress. What am I defining progress as? $2.35. So that's by far the most important level of support. In terms of resistance, keep an eye on that pink line up there, 200 period moving average, which is currently valued at, let's just call it $2.80. Next one, AMC, and a rough day, and it's not getting any better at all. In fact, as we watch the last 30 minutes right here, you can see this candle has now broken down through even those lows. So it's not like it's having a late day bounce or anything like that. So the downtrend continues. And I mean, the bears are officially, back in full control here. And now it's just a question of, waiting to see if there is going to be any sort of bounce. So first update I'm going to do is just adjust this area of resistance down with the new near-term level of resistance right there at $18.65. So if there is any sort of bounce, that'll be the initial level. But I would say the more important level of resistance from more of an overarching standpoint is all about the purple line up there, which on my chart is the 50 period moving average. You can see it has a very clear downward slope to it, has crossed back down below the 200 period moving average, that pink line. So again, don't get me wrong, a break back above 1865 is certainly a step in the right direction, but does it actually mean anything? I'd be a little skeptical of that. What I would definitely consider to mean a whole lot more is if the price can actually push up above and then stay above that 50 period moving average. But yeah, definitely a very bearish week on this one, and per the last 30 minutes here, it doesn't seem to be getting any better. Next one, SBFM, which was actually very, very savage, and you don't see it here, but yesterday being, as of the recording of this, on Thursday after hours, this thing was all the way up here to $12. I mean, had a very powerful, post-market, and then ended up opening up all the way down here. So there were people that were buying Thursday after hours up over $11, $12. Absolutely just crushed here. So a very, very brutal looking chart. I mean, this thing is X-rated when you consider what was going on Thursday afternoon compared to where it actually opened here on Friday morning. But it is what it is. Welcome to the nasty nature of these, these biotech type stocks. But nonetheless, though, still a lot of people watching it. So let's keep an eye on it for next week, with the main area of resistance now being if there is any sort of attempted bounce right there at $7.75. And then as far as supports are concerned, the level that I'm curious about is that trend line right there. Oh, I didn't realize that. As I speak, quite literally at the bottom of this trend line right here. So let me change that to green to represent more so the bullish dynamic. But yeah, you can see this trend line here has done a good job of providing support even from earlier on in the day. And then right now, as I speak, doing battle with it. So that'll be the big question mark headed into next week. Is this trend line going to hold and create a bounce, or is it going to just continue to collapse to the downside? Again, one of those events worth watching, absolutely. So if you like to play this price range and you like watchable dynamics, well then get this one on the watch list. Next one, BFRI. And what I really like about this one is how seemingly this pullback is over, and it has pulled back. And the reason why I like that is, I would argue that you should always be somewhat paranoid as a trader of, am I the sucker that's buying the top? Am I chasing the price? Am I suffering from FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. Well, that fear has been alleviated. Why? Because the suckers that were buying the top were buying up there. That's the people suffering from FOMO. With the pullback here, that has at least alleviated that. So again, that doesn't mean that anything's going to be a guaranteed winning trade, but at least you don't have to worry about being the sucker that buys the top. And this thing is also now started to show some upward strength. I mean, here things are looking shaky, but then things leveled off and now even started to work its way back upward. So is there another leg of momentum left next week? That makes it very interesting, and why in my mind this is going to be a very key level of support right up there at $4.85. In fact, call it almost one of those self-fulfilling prophecy points, because you can see once, twice, 3 times the price got up around that area and just couldn't quite push through. So once more, it does not guarantee anything, but it certainly makes it valid that if the price can get up to that area and then push up through it, that break could very well create quite a bit of upwards buying pressure. So keep an eye on that. And then as far as supports are concerned, key level of support right down here around the $4.15 mark. Next one, AAPL, Apple. Been a long time since I've done this one, and I mean, it's Apple, so quite a few people out there are at least keeping an eye on it. And overall, a pretty crazy day, but within, taking a step back and looking at more than just one single day, overall, it's still a pretty bearish pattern. So we have our trend line right here, and then we do have, some upwards trend right there, although the last 30 minutes are not looking so good. So let me change that to green. I'll once more represent the bullish dynamic. But really, in all actuality, let me squeeze this down. And some people, maybe I'm trying to fit a square peg through a round hole, but it just feels very bearish. So we have that was a terrible line. Let's try that again. We have the resistance, we have the support, and then we have the nasty move down. So this would be a bear pennant pattern. So it's kind of like an upside. So let's put the hole up here. And just because it's bearish doesn't mean that for sure guaranteed this thing is going to get continuation of the downside. But it's not exactly an awe-inspiring type pattern right now. And I should note, for disclosure's sake, I mean, I do own Apple in my retirement accounts. So, of course, I don't want to see this thing break to the downside. But at this point, I don't think I'd be shocked to see that happen because of the bear pennant nature here headed into next week. But moral of the story, zooming back in, a whole lot of people will be watching that trend line right there, longs and shorts and everybody in between, because you have the longs thinking that it could bounce up there, which is valid, but you also have the shorts thinking, I think this thing's going to break to the downside, which is also valid. So that's why risk management matters, because somebody's always going to be right, somebody's always going to be wrong. And you got to, always weigh that into all of your decisions. But overall, to summarize Apple, I'd call it a bear pennant pattern. Next one, NVDA, NVIDIA, a very well-known stock, and one that's just an interesting pattern here. So let me get this drawn up here first. And we have this wedge pattern. So let's get that once again changed to green. And what I find intriguing about this pattern is that, it is NVIDIA. It's a very popular stock. It's been getting beat down quite a bit. So I realize that, things don't quite, in fact, let's do this because, there we go. And this would be, and I could see, again, I fully respect if somebody wants to disagree with me, but I almost see a falling wedge here, which, believe it or not, is actually a bullish pattern. So you combine that with the fact that it's NVIDIA, popular, beaten down quite a bit. And, it makes me wonder if it just feels like this falling wedge here, like NVIDIA wants to, I'm not saying reverse around and go up to $300, but from a trading standpoint, at least give some sort of bounce. In my mind, that seems plausible. So I will definitely be watching this pattern next week. And again, feel free to disagree. If you're like, that's not a falling wedge, Clay, then okay, maybe you're watching this pattern, maybe you're watching whatever you want to call the pattern in a different way. But for me personally, this is why it'll be on the watch list, because it's, in my mind, it's got a falling wedge, and I'm very curious. Could be some sort of bounce off that trend line up to the top? And even if that happens, I mean, from a trading standpoint, there's some profit that could be, scalped out. But if you get some sort of, breakout to the upside, then there could be that potential more profit. But yeah, for me, NVIDIA is in a falling wedge, so I'm very curious, and I'm going to watch it next week. Next one, TSLA, Tesla, and I traded this one several times today, traded almost every day. So I do this chart analysis every day just because I'm always curious what's going to, come next. So like I said, this is kind of just being a fly in the wall for my personal analysis, but I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that level. It served its purpose. And this will mean a bit more of those that have followed the past videos, but had this green line here down around 1025. And look at the stubbornness of this area. Support, a bunch of times support. And then this morning, couple false breakdowns, and then right here, check out, last 30 minutes, the price just slowly poked its head down below that green line, which is not convincing to me. Why is it not convincing? Well, right here, fake breakdown, fake breakdown, fake breakdown. So just because it's broken down below that level, in my mind, that doesn't mean that this is for sure a breakdown. Now, to be fair, it could be, but like I said, I'm not completely sold on the fact that this thing is finally breaking down. But what I am going to do is I'm going to adjust this area of support right now down to that 1022 mark because that's essentially right where it's bounced off several times. So 1022 is now going to be my main area of support that I'll be watching. And if 1022 can't quite hold up, then the next level, which I don't think anybody would be shocked to see the price go down to, would be down there around 1010, which would essentially be this little gap close location right there. If there are any sort of attempted bounces back to the upside, key level of resistance in the near term going to be all about that pink line there, that 200 period moving average, currently valid at, let's just call it 1045. But yeah, last 30 minutes of the day certainly makes it very interesting here headed into Monday, but those will be the main levels that I'll be keeping an eye on. So that wraps up the top 10. Again, if you like what you saw here and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can, how it should be used to help build consistency as a trader, then definitely get signed for that free class next week. Like I said, it'll be Thursday, April 14th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So definitely get signed up for it. Hopefully I'll see you there. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy this format, if you would like for me to continue to make these videos, put in the time and effort that's required to create this content, then please help me out with some basic feedback. Hit the like button, leave a simple comment. But those two things go a very long way. And it doesn't need to be anything fancy. Say hi. Tell me what you're watching next week. Tell me what you traded today. But hitting the like button and leaving a basic comment, like I said, goes a long way in letting me know that I'm not wasting my time putting out this sort of content. Again, hopefully you like what you saw enough and want to learn more about this tool, so you'll get signed up for the class next week, and I'll see you there. Overall, have a great weekend.